We want to get into our political panel as we start our Thursday morning. I want to welcome in our all-star panel. We start with our White House correspondent, Emerald Robinson, the governor of New York, Betsy McCoy, former Trump campaign aide Rick Gates. And for the first time on our panel this morning, Project 21 National Advisory Board member Christopher Arps and our constitutional attorney Amir Benno. Good morning to everyone. Happy Thursday, getting closer to the weekend. These weeks, they seem like they're all just getting longer and longer. It's only Thursday. I feel like it should be Saturday right now with what's going on. Emerald, quick question for you. Are you outside, by the way, when you do these hits with us?
I am.
You are,
talking
okay.
about the weeks being long.
It's not just windy in your living room or the studio? Okay, because it seems like it's just freezing.
I'm outside.
We've got to get
you. Talking about the weeks being long, my 4-year-old on Tuesday asked me if we could just skip Wednesday. And I'm like, I wish it worked that way.
Wait, we should get President Biden an executive order to do that. He might just sign it. He might just sign it with the way things are going. President Biden has signed more executive orders than any president in history through now 7.5 days. I want to start by playing a quick soundbite from Michelle Wallace from MSNBC. She's making our show twice today, but here is, Michelle Wallace. There you go. What day is today? Nicole Wallace from MSNBC, and this is Governor Andrew Cuomo. Take a listen. And this is Governor Andrew Cuomo. Take a listen.
No other state, Nicole. And again, it was from federal incompetence. They thought the virus was in China. It had left China, it had gone to Europe, and it came here for 3 months before they ever knew. Incompetent government kills people. Incompetent government kills people. More people died than needed to die in COVID. That's the truth.
Emerald, we'll start with you. Then you guys can jump in and I'll sort of play quarterback here. But this is the guy that won an Emmy and wrote a book in the middle of a pandemic.
Now, him winning an Emmy makes sense, right? Considering he can get on TV and deliver a line like that, but maybe he won an Emmy for the wrong thing. Look, it's very rich. I think that America saw what happened in New York City, and I don't know too many people that are buying that.
And can I say, Rob, the fact that he says incompetent government kills, he's entirely right. It kills when you put people who are infected with COVID in nursing homes and you light a fire to the kindling there. And, he killed so many people in New York State through his own incompetence. The fact that he wants to try to blame President Trump for this is just astonishing.
Yeah, Betsy, jump in.
Yes, at least 12,000, double the number to which he admits. But the New York State Health Department and the governor still refuse, even with Freedom of Information Act requests, to release the documents to show how many deaths Cuomo and his team are responsible for.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable.
I was going to chime in. That's an astounding statement that Cuomo made, that President Trump was responsible for these deaths, when, as the other panelists said, his policies were directly responsible for millions of nursing home deaths. And it doesn't take into account that the president put in the travel ban at the end of January. He identified where this virus came from, which is China, which I think was the totally responsible thing to do.
I want to switch gears, Rick, and ask you a question about the impeachment right here. Listen, things right now are, I think we all just think it's the worst time to be a conservative in America and to be a Republican. They're canceling the Republican Party. They're trying to cancel the Trump presidency. It's not all bad for Republicans. If they do move forward with this impeachment, won't that generate a ton of sympathy for Donald Trump?
Yes, I think people have a short memory. If we go back to the first impeachment, remember how much it damaged the Democratic Party, particularly in November. And if you recall, look at the number of seats the Democrats lost in the House, particularly. So Nancy Pelosi is walking a very, tight edge here. And I think she has just blown up this opportunity. Now you've got the Senate calling for censure because they realized that impeachment is not going to happen. It was unconstitutional to begin with because Trump was going to be out of office. And she and Chuck Schumer have absolutely, I think, damaged their position in this. And the American people are going to remember it.
Betsy, your thoughts?
Yes, and listen to what the Democrats are saying, because we are now entering probably the least free period in modern American history. The Democrats are saying there is no necessity to provide any facts, any evidence, whether it's for a trial or for a censure vote, Chuck Schumer says this is going to be a procedure in living color, like some sort of play. But independent Senator Angus King said, well, what about presenting the facts? We want to see whether there's any connection between the actions and speeches of the president and what happened to the Capitol. And Sheldon Whitehouse retorted, we don't need facts. We don't need evidence. We'll listen to what the media said. Can you imagine in the United States of America, anyone being tried based on what the media say?
Emerald, jump in.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think Democrats are now.
Go ahead, Emerald.
Sorry. I was just going to say Democrats, I think, now recognize it's likely an exercise in futility after the vote to dismiss the other day garnered a large amount of Republican support. So you already hear them here talking about pivoting to a censure. They'd like to do a trial. I mean, I think a trial will still happen, but they understand that they might just get a censure.
You know, because they mentioned that, and Chuck Schumer said, no, we're going to have a trial, because Chuck Schumer is absolutely petrified of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez primarying him or for the Senate in another year. But I'll say this, 40 senators, Democrat senators, that's 80% of their conference have already come out saying that they're going to vote to convict. They haven't heard any evidence. They have to take an oath to impartial justice. These guys are going into this process already with the conclusion in hand. This is not a fair proceeding.
You know, I think, by the way, you bring up that point about primarying somebody. You notice Marco Rubio's been really friendly to the Trump cause recently. I think it's because there's a possibility that Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka, runs against him in 2022. And that's a threat. We know it's going to happen in Georgia. President Trump's going to be out there in Georgia campaigning against people like Brad Raffensperger and Brian Kemp in earnest. So I think there's fear that could happen. And this might generate a whole lot of sympathy for Donald Trump.
Well, an outrage from the base.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The base that largely has started turning to Newsmax. Chris, I wanted to ask you about this. Yesterday, we keep hearing this term. It's not racial equality, it's racial equity, which is just sort of window dressing for socialism, isn't it?
It is, and I think this new term, racial equity, is really just another term for racial quotas and affirmative action. You know, the Democrats are very good at changing the phrases of words. You know, illegal immigrants use is now migrant workers or undocumented workers. So I think this is just affirmative action. I think it's just racial quotas with just another name on it.
Well, and now we have environmental justice and climate justice as of yesterday, too. Those were two buzz phrases used quite often in the briefing we got on the climate change executive orders that President Biden signed yesterday.
Anyone have any idea why John Kerry calls himself a czar? Why are we using that term? Couldn't he just...
I don't know.
Is there anything else we could use? They introduced him yesterday. They said, now he's our climate czar, John Kerry. I said, czar.
They use that quite a bit.
I'm watching Aladdin or something like that. Rick, I want to talk to you.
Trying to keep Russia in our minds.
Yeah, seriously. Rick, I want to ask you about the situation in Chicago. Betsy, go ahead.
Put out their jobs as they had made bad choices. Can you imagine putting it back on the employees? All these thousands of people losing jobs who worked on the Keystone Pipeline, or the millions who work in coal mines and related industries. They made bad choices, according to John Kerry.
I got a soundbite here from John Kerry.
Yeah.
If you guys
my
want
dad
to take...
was a coal miner.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, if you're a coal miner, hey, why don't you become a computer programmer or teach interpretive dance?
I could never imagine my dad coding.
Exactly. Emerald, what was your dad? What did he do? Was he a coal miner?
He was a coal miner.
Okay.
I'm from the coal mining area of Virginia.
Does he want to become a computer programmer or work in climate?
Well, he passed last year, but I can tell you a lot of my family members who are still coal miners that would be a tough shift for them to make. And then I think John Kerry said they could make solar panels. A lot of these people are 50 and 60 looking at, they have a few years left till retirement. And it's going to be very difficult for them to try to shift in the way that John Kerry says is easy to do.
Emerald, I'm so sorry to hear about your dad. I didn't know that, but I knew that he was in that line of work. And I'm sorry to bring that up. But, these are people that have done this for generations. And John Kerry, just in an elitist way, like I'm the kind of guy that has a private jet and is married to a woman who's got an absolute fortune. He just says, no, we can teach him to do other things.
And the frustrating thing is we've seen all this before in the Obama administration, where you have the government trying to pick winners and losers. We're trying this again in the Biden administration.
Amir, go ahead.
China would be laughing all the way.
Hold on, Betsy. 1 second, Amir. Go ahead.
Our own economy.
He's so arrogant that he's saying that people have made bad choices, that government can decide what the better choice is for people. People can't make their own choices and what's good for them and their families. That is just, I mean, really, it's the paradigm of elitism. And it's just, Andrew Cuomo's no better. If you remember when the coronavirus started and he shut everything down, he said, listen, you lost your job. If you want a job, go be a doctor, go be a nurse, go be a frontline worker. He had absolutely no empathy for people who are trying to make a mortgage payment and support their families.
Yeah, Rick Gates, final thought. These are people that are hardworking, good Americans, the backbone of this country, what makes this country America.
Yeah, it's empty political rhetoric. And what I didn't hear yesterday at all was any real plan to convert these, jobs. I mean, you can't take people that are working in the oil and gas industry and put them in, making solar panels and wind turbines. I would say one point, I find it highly ironic that Joe Biden is decimating the oil and gas industry in the U.S., but yet he was, surely able to help his son Hunter Biden get a job in the oil and gas industry in Ukraine, with Burisma Holdings. Maybe he's forgotten what country he's living in.
Yeah. Emerald, we love you.
Makes a good point.
Sorry to bring that up. It's just, you know what it is? What bothers me?
It's okay.
It's just the condescension. It was so condescending yesterday. Like, no, they don't matter. They can do something else. Guys, we got to leave it there. You're going to be back with us in just a little bit. About 20 minutes, we'll have the full panel back. Thank you guys so much. Great conversation there.
Thanks.